Our next speaker is the voice of reason, the founder of the Lady of Liberty Alliance. She has the toughest job in the LPWA as Johnny's handler. It's Heather f***ing Nixon!
Well, thank you so much, Adam, for that introduction. I do want to clarify I'm not the founder of the Ladies of Liberty Alliance. I'm just a founding member of the Tacoma Seattle chapter here, so I want to clarify that. And I want to thank the LPWA for inviting me to speak here at the 2016 Liberty Summit. So thank you so much for having me. And I do want to give a special shout out to, this is Justin. If anybody has seen my pictures or Johnny's pictures on Facebook, he's the one that makes us unrecognizable in real life. He has cards down on the table, so if you want to look beautiful, take his card and he will do it. So thank you so much, Justin. And my last shout out is to Miss Tiffany. She's done amazing things in the last year, and I commend her activism, her follow through, and her commitment to growing the liberty movement. She's done a fantastic job and she deserves some love. Thank you so much, Tiffany. You know, and one of the things she's done is put extra effort into making sure that females are represented here at the Libertarian Convention. And many times I'm the only woman, or one of very few women, at Libertarian events. So I get asked, why? Why are there so few women here in the Libertarian Party? And I'm going to tell you. My experience, and they're pretty specific to the Washington State Libertarian Party here. You know, and we experience the nationwide Libertarian Party, and we see the Facebook trolls and the headbutting. But here, face-to-face in real world, what I find is the Libertarian Party so many times defaults to the Republican Party. And so, you know, and really, when we talk about the Libertarian Party, most people don't know what we are. We are a fringe movement where if we are exposed on national media or in a television show, we're usually a punchline to a joke about roads. So, you know, people do not take us seriously. Who's gonna build them, right? So, what I believe, and I apologize to Mr. Pickens because he gave a great speech last night about imaging and marketing, but I believe that the Libertarian Party has an image problem. Right now, well, as of last Wednesday, there are 160 registered LPWA members. Only 160. 25 of them are women. That's only 15%. So obviously we do have a marketing problem. Now there may be other people that are national members that, you know, didn't cough up the 25 bucks to join the Washington State Party, but, you know, that's a little sad, you know, and we want to move towards being recognized as a true third party, as a voice, especially as we see so many people are open to voting for third party if Trump and Hillary are candidates. We need to be taken seriously. So what can we do? So like I said, the majority of the people I speak to are Republicans, and I don't want us to be seen as a faction of the Republican Party like the Tea Party is. No. And you know, like this morning, and it's like so fantastic with all these candidates, and it's, you know, we're so enthusiastic about the election, but in the not too recent past, we see so many libertarians posting, you know, I'm all for Rand Paul, or if Rand Paul's out, I'm going to vote for Ted Cruz. And what kind of message does that send to the people that are disenfranchised? What it says is we're defaulting to the Republican Party. And me being a former Democrat, having grown up here in the Northwest, I grew up right in Tacoma, you know, that's an instant turnoff. You know, I always thought of myself as politically active. I voted, I tried to educate myself on issues, and, you know, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Reagan was elected when I was 10, and then came Papa Bush. And the Republican Party was seen as the man. They were preaching family values, just say no to drugs, meddling in my body. And I was anti. I was anti-big business, anti-religion. I wanted to buy local. I wanted to take care of each other. You know, meat is murder, and I will not shave my legs, and, you know, screw the man. So, you know, and when I was 19, I would have fallen in love with Bernie Sanders, because when I was 19, I loved Ralph Nader, you know, and I'm just being honest. When you're young and idealistic, and you think that we should all be able to take care of each other, but you don't realize where that money's where that money's coming from, you know. So as I grew older, had children, got married, got divorced, paid taxes, got married, got divorced, bought property, got married, got divorced. My viewpoint shifted. I became more economically conservative. It was a slow progression. But my viewpoints on social issues remain liberal. What has changed is my realization that government has no place in either one. My first introduction into libertarianism was almost 3 years ago. The ideas and the philosophies just clicked. The more I learned, the more I discovered that, yeah, that's exactly what I think. But I just didn't have a label for it. I was not part of the Ron Paul revolution. Why? Because he was running as a Republican. When he ran as a libertarian in 1988, I was a 17-year-old welfare mom taking the bus to pick up my food stamps. I didn't care about politics. I didn't care about that world. And then in 2008 and 2012, he was a Republican. And again, I'm anti-Republican. Why would I pay any attention to that? So, as we try and grow the party and reach those disenfranchised people, and again, here in the Northwest, it is on this side of the mountains, is mostly Democratic. So we need to figure out, how do we talk to those people? One of the words I hear thrown around a lot here in the Libertarian Party, whether it's face-to-face or on Facebook, is the word conservatism. And to many Democrats, conservatism is a bad word. I know, conservatism really means, let me explain the Founding Fathers' intent and the origin of blah, 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 blah. You've lost them. If you have to redefine what a word means to somebody, you're basically telling them that they're stupid, and anything that follows, they're not going to be open to it, and they're not going to hear you. So what does the word conservatism mean to a liberal female? And I mean by today's liberal. But wait, Heather, the word classical liberal means, no, you guys just need to stop it. Because, again, going into a big, long history lesson about what the origins of the parties and what the true intent was, nobody has time for that. What you want to do is reach people and speak to them in a language that they understand. Now, if you look up the word conservative, it means holding to traditional attitudes and values and cautious about change or innovation, typically in relation to politics or religion, or a person who is adverse to change and holds to traditional values and attitudes, typically in politics. If you Google the term, what is a conservative politically, the first thing that comes up is on answers.com. And you know, if it's on the internet, it's absolutely true, right? So, some yahoo that goes by Landsmith posted, conservative big C means belief in a so-called golden age of neoliberal economics of the 19th century were no employment protection laws, so children as young as 10 died in dangerous conditions. It means a belief in the power of capital over labor. Therefore, no unions, no welfare state, no education, no taxes. The resulting anarchy leads to the necessity of a police state. It also means a belief in small c conservatives moralizing whereby, because of a lack of free education, conservatives constantly feel they have to tell others how to live their lives in terms of sexuality, spending, drug taking, whatever, while usually at the expense of others. Conservatives regard themselves as the natural ruling class and above the law. So again, what we're talking about is perception. Today's definitions. You cannot go into the ivory tower, I know it, so you should know it. You have to be able to relate to people. So I'm pleading with you, keep your intellectual superiority on the inside and communicate with people on their own terms, or don't. The fact is, we are the ambassadors to liberty. With so few of us, we have to be. So skip the rhetoric and listen to what they have to say, because they will tell you what's important to them. And any man who has spent any amount of time with a woman knows you never want to hear, "You never listen to me." And please don't ever say in public that libertarianism is based in logic and that's why women don't get it. Another taboo, women base their beliefs and opinions on emotions. As true as you believe it to be, don't say it out loud. Because that whole woman scorn thing ain't no joke. And this brings me to the fair sex and their role in growing the liberty movement. I've been challenged many times by females in the liberty movement whose ivory towers are just as high. When the conversation moves towards women's issues, I hear there are no women's issues, only human issues. So I'm like, yeah, there are. We're women, we have uteruses, we have children, we are caregivers. Well, what about the women who don't have uteruses or don't have children? Don't you care about their voices? The splitting hairs and the arguing with each other, the infighting, instead of reaching out and saying, yes, stereotypes, they exist for a reason. And we have to, yeah, there's the exception. But we need to realize if we're going to grow as a party and become, and get that 5% and become major party status, that we have to reach those people. And not everybody has been able to watch all the Learn Liberty videos or study all those books, and it isn't possible, especially when you're taking kids to daycare and you're going to work and you come home and you make dinner, because that's the fact. A lot of us women, not everybody, but a lot of us women take on those extra things to make sure that everybody in our family is taken care of. You're welcome. You know, we waste so much time on semantics. I think we lose sight of the big picture, that ultimately we want to share the awesomeness that is liberty. Now, last night, I was talking to our chair, Stephen Nelson, and we were talking a lot about women. And he has been asked, what are you doing to cater to women here in the party? And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm sharing the message. Why do I need to do a special message to women? Shouldn't this just appeal to everybody? Well, you know, in this libertarian utopia that we all strive toward, that would be an ideal. But we don't live in that world. Half of this country, you know, and it fluctuates a couple percent every election year, is Democratic. And when you talk about that, over 50% of women identify as Democratic, as opposed to only 30% of women identify as Republican. So when we're pushing out that we're the default of the Republican Party, that we're conservative. We're really excluding women because they identify as Democrats. Instead of reaching out to those disenfranchised women who don't identify with Hillary, they don't identify with Bernie because they're over 22. No, there is this huge chunk of America that is in the middle. And if we could just get the message out in an understandable and a compassionate, as Michelle said, we need to reach their hearts. And she is absolutely right, that we need to speak to them on their terms and tell them why this party is so good for them and how you get to keep your money. You get to make your own choices. The government is not in charge of you. Get that message out there. One of the other things that I would really like you guys to do, last month Johnny and I went to a Liberty on the Rocks event in Renton, and I was the only woman. And it just would have been weird for me to walk into the event that's in a bar all by myself and walk to a table of 6 to 7 men and say, hey, how you doing? That's just weird. Women do not go into social situations like that and feel comfortable sitting down at a table full of men. I mean, there's social norms and social taboos that we need to recognize. So you men, bring your significant others, bring your female friends, so that a woman can come by herself and feel comfortable. Because if we don't recognize those societal norms and the societal taboos, we're not going to grow. Now, one of the things, and this is again to the women that are in the party, you guys are awesome. You guys can debate, you guys can argue, and you have disagreements, and you can call each other all kinds of names, and then the next day you fist bump and you're like, bro, how you doing? And you guys carry on with your lives. Us women are a little bit different. We tend to take things personally, and we hold on to the grudge till death. Did you hear what she said to me? Oh my God, look at her dress. So we women need to be better at recognizing this is politics. It isn't friendship. We're not going home to hang out with each other. We are trying to move the liberty movement forward. So don't take things personally. We need to learn from each other. We may not agree, but it's not personal. And, just because I don't agree with whatever the issue is, doesn't mean that, we don't have to like each other. But ultimately, we want to move this movement forward. And if if we're catty you-know-whats, that's not going to happen. And that's part of the reason why I'm trying to start the Ladies of Liberty Alliance chapter here in the Tacoma Seattle area. We had our first meeting last Sunday. We had 8 women show up, which was fantastic for our first meeting. And, it's a national organization, and it's a nonprofit, so we can't endorse or any candidate or party or, issue. But what we can do is bring women in and help them discover their own voices and give them the training to go out and pursue and be a voice in whatever they find their cause, whatever their passion is. And sometimes maybe those women don't end up coming along with us on the Liberty Road, but if they find their voice and become active, that's what's important, because there are so many women sit back and they're quiet, they don't embrace their power, and that's what Lola is all about. is giving women that voice, giving women the training so that they can do that and pursue whatever cause they decide to pursue. Now, if you're interested in finding more about our Lola group here in the area, come up to me and I'll give you the info. Or you can email lola@iamlola.org and they'll hook you up. If you're on the east side of the mountains and you want to start a chapter over there, I highly encourage it. Because again, what we need to do is give women a place where they can be the safe place, where they don't feel judged. And they can ask, you know, some of these women are starting at ground zero. They don't know which district they're in. They don't necessarily understand how state politics works. You know, showing up at city council meetings, you know, and giving them the confidence and the power without feeling judged, without feeling like they're stupid. Because sometimes, you know, especially when you come into a group like this where you guys are all so politically involved and, you know, it's intimidating to somebody who has never been involved in politics before. So we want to give women a chance to find their voice, to learn how things work, and give them the understanding that they do have the power to change their own world. And finally, I think the most important thing that I see as I have come into the Libertarian Party in the last 3 years is we need to all embrace each other. We don't need to like each other personally, but publicly, we really need to be a team and give each other the support to move forward, so that when we do bring new people in, they don't see that, well, you're not really libertarian and blah, 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 blah. So thank you so much for listening, and that's it. That's all I got.